And so Genesis goes on to say, so God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them and blessed them, and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill all the earth and subdue it. We've done that very well. We've done it so well that we have to try to stop people from reproducing. My family is a prime example of that. They have done that very well. They just multiplied. My grandson, I said to my grandson, well, you're just a nerd. And he said, well, Grandpa, you're the head nerd because you got this all started. And I guess he was right about that. But anyhow, we were to multiply and replenish the earth, or that is, that we were to bring forth better and new things all the time. And we're doing that. Now it would appear to us, in our limited thinking and ideas, that possibly that's the end of creation. But it isn't. Not according to this. Because it ends up and says, and God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And so at that point we end the idea of creation in the first chapter of book of Genesis, going through the first 3 verses in the second chapter. Then the end of it says, then the heavens and earth were completed in all their vast array. So we're saying, okay, God, that's great. That's wonderful. Now, it goes on. There's this second book that comes about. And because they could not totally understand what spirit was and how that we are image and likeness of God, they said, the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Now this is after all of this creation is done. I attended an ecumenical little meeting, and they were doing the ashes, you know. I'm not Episcopalian, I'm not Presbyterian, and so I never had any part in that kind of thing, never knew anything about it. And the preacher came around to every person there, and he put the ashes on their head and said, remember that you are dust. Remember that you are dust. Well, I saw him coming. And I thought, well, no, I can't put up with that. I'm not that. It doesn't resemble me. I don't resemble that remark. And so he came to me with a bunch of ashes on his finger. And I said, dear, no, I don't think I'll take that. And he said, okay. And he walked away. I think maybe he understood what we're all about. We aren't of the dust. This is just a second story that was formed by the tribes of Israel and the early peoples. And they were trying to understand who they were. And God said to Adam, and if you will notice the remarks down here, I hope you take this home and look at it. And God said, and the Lord God formed man out of the dust of the ground, and God said, Adam, where are you? And Adam said, I heard your voice, and I was afraid. Now let's think about this for just a minute. Can we really think about this for a second? If God is everywhere, all presence, well, you can't run out of the presence of God, you can't walk out, you can't fly out. There's nothing you can do to get out of the presence. It's always here, always surrounds us. Do you think this infinite mind that created all things just lost Adam somewhere? Said, I don't know where he's at. I can't figure it out. He's looking under the bushes. Are you in there, Adam? You know, that's the God of materialism. And then we have Adam, who is afraid of the very voice of God. The very voice of God as it speaks. And he began to say, well, you know, I took of the apple of the tree. It was put there. It looked good, tasted good. My wife liked it. See how that is, you know? Eve blamed Adam. Adam blamed the devil, and the devil blamed God. You know, it's all just a story that's coming forward, trying to explain something. So then when all of this has come forth, and man is in God's image and likeness, this particular story says, so the Lord God banished him from the garden, and God said, he has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Now, one of the teachings that we have here is that God does not know evil. God does not know sickness, sin, or death. God does not know those things. Because if He did, don't you see that that would be a product of creation, and you could never get well. You could take all the medicine you wanted, you would take it all, go to the best specialists, and you would not get well. You just would not. But there is, I'm glad to say, this first chapter of the book of Genesis that tells us we're spirit stuff. We're spirit stuff. That's what we are. That's what we are. That's why, for instance, Casey could read, because he was connected to the spirit stuff, you see. And that spirit stuff began to bring forth into his mind those things that people needed to know. And they have a wonderful ministry. If, because we are spirit stuff, Nona Brooks could call this divine science, and she could say, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Isn't that wonderful to know? That I don't have to suffer in some situation, but that I can declare who I am, what I am, where I am, and where I came from. And I don't have to put up with it. So here are these two various stories. And we respect both, but we know that only one can be true, while the other is very, very limited. But it was just brought forth from father to son, then from son to son, and so on, and mother to mother, and mother to son, and on it went. But we understand there's some truth in it, in the first chapter, and we understand who we are. And it came as a revelation in the early 1800s and early 1900s, when it exploded upon the United States consciousness. You see, America, in a very special way, is Zion. It's the place where revelation comes. It's the place where we are free to learn, to imagine, and to be. So that's what we are. I always say that we are spiritual Israel. Those of us who know the truth, we are spiritual Israel. We are of the Spirit. Now, some of my family came out of material Israel. They went to temple, you know, some of them did. In other words, they were all converted. Strangely enough, they were all converted, the early ones in my family, to the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It was one step. And then many of them came forth out of that into what we call New Thought, studying the ideas and concepts of metaphysical writers. Well, that's all I have to say, and I wonder if you have a question.